in my villain era. Hello everyone. When I say testing, you say peers. Testing? Peers. Testing? Peers. That works so much better than I thought it would. Thank you. So, I'm here with some tough love today to tell you that you are not ready for quality engineering. But first and foremost, I am Callum Akehurst-Ryan, your favourite tester's favourite tester. I am a speaker, I'm a quality engineer, I'm a staff engineer at a company called ArtLogic. I'm also a kick-ass dungeon master, for anyone that does partake. Yes, I'm in gaming, not the other sons. I'm also known for the beauty of my pink and black slides, and you might recognise the branding throughout because I also helped do a lot of the branding for testing peers. So, first and foremost, this is your hot take alert. I will be sharing some uncomfortable truths and observations about the testing community. But I do it with a place of radical candour. I'm one of you. I love you. I want to support you. I want to help you. Okay? So what we're looking at today, it might come across as a little bit harsh, but we're here to help, right? Saying the things that need to be said. So, key takeaways for today. I'm going to talk about my context of working with engineering teams to learn what they want from quality engineering. I'm an engineer, I'm a staff engineer, I work with those engineering teams, I have that context. We're also going to be talking about how we talk about quality and testing. It shows that many of us are not ready for quality engineering and modern development. And then, because I want to help, I said, radical candour, I love you all, I'm here to help. How can we distinguish ourselves as pragmatic testing generalists to become marketable in the current state of the industry? Good, woo! So, let's start off. My context of working with engineering teams. So to understand modern testing and what it really looks like, we have to understand what the context is. And what the context of modern engineering is means understanding what they want and what they need. And this comes from, or what I'm talking to, is my experience of working with engineering teams and talking to engineers. And it speaks to the things that we're all seeing, but maybe not calling out in the industry. And it's also going to talk about more and more what we're going to be seeing in the future. The future of testing is quality engineering, working and engaging with engineering teams. So my experience. I started off, like many people here, as a manual functional tester in the finance industry. That's where I started. Any manual functional testers in the house? A couple of half-hearted. Be proud! Yeah, me, hello! But as time progressed, I became an agile and exploratory testing. I worked in the e-commerce and gaming sectors. I built up sort of knowledge of working with that. I then became an embedded team tester in tech organisations, doing a bit more support and help. I am now the solo quality engineer in engineering organisations, where they've never had any testers, helping to build a culture of quality effectively. And this all means that for me, as a person, I have built up context of what testing is, what quality engineering is, and what engineering teams want and need. It's also to show you that my experience and my context is going to mirror many of you. We have, because we've had some people cheering, some manual functional testers in the house. I'm sure we've got some agile and exploratory testers in the house. I'm sure we've got some embedded team testers in the house. You'll notice that I didn't mention I was an SDET at any other time as well, but I am an engineer. And my current context, why I'm talking today, is that I work day to day between testing and engineering. And that gives me visibility of the problems that we see as an engineer. I have been speaking and working with engineers, and that's shaped my thinking around what testing needs to be, what engineering needs to be as well. And I've spoken to CTOs, hiring managers, engineering leaders, our stakeholders, our customers in this space. So I have a really good context. I know what engineers want. And what I've seen is positive, right? It's great. Engineering teams want quality engineering. They want support. They want testing. We've had questions today. How do I sell the dream? How do I get testing into my organization? Engineers want it. They actually do. They want support. They want coaching. They want quality engineering. I've worked at a number of organizations where my role as a quality engineer was invented by engineers, software developers. They wanted it. They needed the help. But they find that it's hard to work with quality engineers. Find that it's hard to find people they can trust. And because testing requires such a large amount of generalist knowledge and depth of knowledge, we talk about being T-shaped, that's not enough. Big shaped, star-shaped. Because it's such a hard thing to navigate, it can be really hard and disheartening for a lot of people to engage with quality engineering. They've been burnt by the lower end of the bar when it comes to the testers that they've interacted with, which we'll talk about. But they really do want to be supported. They do want us. We are needed in this industry. But we've poisoned our own well. We've poisoned the state of talking about testing and talking about quality. The way that we talk publicly about testing and quality is bad. It shows a lack of understanding around what engineering teams need, and we're effectively eroding trust. The legacy of how we've spoken about testing shows that we're unpragmatic, that we're siloed. I'm sure lots of us have heard the testing horror stories, or seen the memes online, which we'll come to, that we can't work together, test versus dev. They don't understand us, they don't know us. We've poisoned the well by talking about that. Has anyone heard of a self-fulfilling prophecy? If you say something enough times, it comes true. If we say that testers can't work with devs, it becomes true. We're doing that to our own industry. We're killing ourselves. Quality engineering as a practice is a rebrand. It's a rebrand away from QA and testing, fundamentally. Do you know why? Because we've poisoned the well. People don't like working with QA teams or testing teams because they're seen as gatekeepers, unpragmatic, they don't help, they don't support the engineering functions that they work with. It was actually engineering teams that came up with the term quality engineering, not testing. We started co-opting it. But more and more people are now co-opting the term quality engineering to mean any sort of testing, and still having the same old arguments, the same old conversations. We're poisoning the well again with quality engineering. And how does that look like? So, how we talk about what engineering teams want, these are our stakeholders. These are the people that want to work with us. But how do we talk about what their values are? So let's go through them now. Firstly, teams want engineering peers. They want to work with people who want to build things together, that want to vibe with things together. Engineers like building things, right? They want to bring in people who want to help them to build things, or to build things with them. But what are we saying? What do the testers say online? These are some quotes that I've pulled. These are all sources. They don't represent the places. So this isn't like a specific Ministry of Testing quote. It's just places that I found quotes where testers are talking about things. We find that testers, and quite a lot of testers out there, when they're speaking online and publicly, don't even want to call themselves engineers. They don't want to engage with engineering. We find that a lot of testers like to celebrate their ignorance around how things are made. We talk about black box testing a lot of the time. Oh, we just speak about the users. We don't look at how things are made. It's got to a point where somebody had to call out and say it's been normalised so much that talking about how things are made and engineering practices is seen as provocative. It's seen as other and different. And we see so many other quotes where people are interviewed or they talk about testing, but they say, I don't like coding, I don't like building things, I just like breaking them. That's why I'm a tester. How is that engaging with the people who want people that they can build things with together? And there's a lot of us out there who do, and there's a lot of building that does happen as well. But this is the kind of narratives that we say. And I spoke to engineers. I spoke to some senior engineers to get some quotes back of what does this mean to you? And the fact that we don't speak about wanting to be engineers doesn't fill people with confidence. It pushes testers further away from where we're going in the industry. Developers at the moment are trying to get closer to quality engineering and testing, whilst at the same time, we keep pushing ourselves away from engineering. This is what our customers, the people hiring you, are thinking. We can adjust, we can change what we're saying, and as an industry, it's super hiring. The next thing that teams want, generalist quality skills. Yeah? I said about being T-shaped earlier, people want a bit of everything, right? Specialisms are disappearing. We're getting less and less people hired into teams. You might be the solo or only tester in an organisation, and we know this because we've seen the everything and the kitchen sink job applications, right? Put your hand up. You've seen one of those job apps that's asking for absolutely everything, right? Cool. We know that this is true. People want a bit of everything. They need help solving everything. But what do we say? The ISTQB, our professional body, goes and says, oh, well, we don't really touch non-functional testing. People don't really do it. How do we show that we're generalists when our own professional body says we don't do it? The TSG, Top Software Trends for 2026, modern testing, exciting, says, yeah, we'll actually start to maybe think about things other than functional testing. In 2026? Madness. And we get lots of people talking to their ignorance of different types of testing. They mostly focus around manual testing or functional testing. The basics of testing are being talked about as cutting edge and modern. But engineering teams want more than that. They want us to see that we can help with so many different things. In fact, that's what they're saying. When we speak to them, they say, well, if you can't help us, why are you here? And it's alarming to hear how the importance of types of testing that they don't know how to solve for are downplayed by the experts in that area. So many teams don't know the art of the possible when it comes to security, performance, accessibility, CI/CD pipeline testing, chaos engineering. But we don't know about it either, or we say that we don't. And testers are becoming more and more irrelevant in the industry because we've specialised in one area, but now they need information about everything. As well as knowing everything, teams want you to be good at everything. They want you to show that you can actually solve problems for them. They want the skills. But what do we see online? This is a diagram that's supposed to represent different types of testing. What we can see under it is under unit testing, it's black box manual testing. I don't know anyone that's doing unit testing manually, but this is something that was liked and shared hundreds upon hundreds of times in the public. Engineers see this. Engineers think we don't know what basic forms of testing are. And we see the other side of this. Lots and lots and lots of testers saying, oh, I'm out of my depth. Oh, I couldn't do this. Oh, I couldn't do that. I've lost the knowledge. I don't know automation. We're very vocal about what we don't know. But we could be vocal about what we do know and how we can help people, because that's what engineering teams want. They want the help. In fact, we have quotes. The engineers were saying it was depressing to see that people don't want to get to a deeper understanding of engineering and testing, which is their own craft. They ask questions like, how do they contribute into my team? And we had really key stakeholders saying, I wouldn't hire people that couldn't help the team build things together, that couldn't show that they understood testing. What we're saying is hurting us. And alongside all this, we need to be trusted advisors. Engineering teams want people they can come to solve their problems and help them. They want that advice. They want to work with us. They want us to work with what they value. But look, it's those memes I said about. How many of you have seen these memes? Yeah? Hands up. How many of you have reposted these memes? Or made comments on this? Yeah, well, don't be shy. Yeah, a few people. What do these memes tell engineers who are the ones hiring us and engaging with us? They say we're not trusted advisors, that we're into conflict and drama, and we live for the drama. That's not what we're here for. There was a whistle for it, someone was into the drama. Or we see lots of people say, oh, it's my job to be negative. We just had a talk, I don't know, to say about the positivity of things, be an optimist. So how are we being seen as trusted advisors when we're showing that we're into conflict? And this is what developers think of that. The memes are heartbreaking. They're infuriating. They're just trying to do their job, and they want help with that job. Why are we being so conflict? Why are we reveling and being sarcastic in the conflict? In fact, some people think that this comes across as immature and petulant, reveling in having arguments rather than working together. But we know that we can work together. A lot of the questions today have been about how do I engage and communicate with my engineering teams. We want to do that. We know it's the right thing to do. But the stuff that's being shared online and is being scraped by ChatGPT, so when people look up testing, that's what they see. That's what it's showing. It's a little break with a fun gift. People want you to go to sell testing. Lots of engineering teams don't know the art of the possible. They don't know what good testing looks like. They need someone who's going to come in, show them. They want to sell things. They want a bit of razzle-dazzle. They want an infographic that's black and pink. I know that one. Yeah? Don't take the black and pink infographics, I'll come for you. But that's what they want. They want to see the art of the possible. They want to be sold on a journey. So what happens? We gatekeep terms that might help people take on that journey. I'm sure a lot of us are saying, what's the point of quality engineering? It's just testing. What's the point of saying shift left or shift right? It's just testing. It's all just testing. How's that selling people the dream or helping them to understand what they need? It's all branding. Branding is part of selling. It helps them understand things. Shutting things down isn't going to help people to understand where we're at. We also see lots of things going, devs should just know better. Why should they know better? We're not educating them. We come to sessions like this and we navel gaze and we basically all agree on things, but where's the outreach? Nobody's taught good testing in comp sci, so they can't know better. And there are people out there who are doing outreach, and that's great, and that's helping, and that's driving change. But we can't just assume that people should know better. My one quote by a noted testing leader in the space, I'm sure you've all seen this name before. Even our leaders, our thought leaders, are saying, just Google it. Why should I have to teach you anything? Why should I sell you the dream? You should know it, you should Google it. But again, as we're seeing, some of the stuff that we're saying online isn't stuff that we want said. So maybe we don't want to Google, we need to manage that message and sell the dream a little bit more. But our engineers are seeing this as well. When they're saying just Google it, when we're seeing things that just don't sell, it doesn't inspire people to become better at testing. These are people who want to get better at testing, they want quality engineering, they need inspiring. You don't just force people to do things, you just say, you're crap. You try and inspire people. And We get people who say, I'd rather work with people who want to figure out what works, talk to people, engage with them, try and sell the dream, show the art of the possible, rather than be prescriptive, rather than gatekeep things. And we also see that there's a real need for influence. You don't influence people by just shutting them down. You engage in that conversation. Does anyone do improv or play Dungeons and Dragons? Where are my nerds? Yay! Right, you've heard of yes and? Yeah, you build on ideas. You build on the ideas, because if you shut things down, you can't go anywhere. Your story's really bad if you go, hey, you're adventurers, you're in a tavern, there's a dragon that needs slaying. And someone goes, no, there isn't. Makes it really hard to build on that idea. We need to be more positive. We need to be selling things. And engineers know this. That's what they're asking for. And it comes around to influence. And that influence needs to be at all levels. We need to take everyone on a journey, from C-suite to juniors, because our engineering peers all want that help. When I work with CTOs, they still want help. They say, you're the expert, help me understand this thing, right? But we have lots of posts here that say things like, we don't talk to our devs, don't communicate to them. We have very aggressive things. Developers, shut the hell up about testing unless we ask for your opinion. Hint, we won't. How is that influencing anyone? And we also see lots of commentary, lots of conversation around testers assuming that leaders should just know to include them and not try to actually foster that inclusion, show the value. They want spoon feeding in that space. They're not doing the influence, they're expecting their managers to do that for them. And this mentality is why developers think that they don't take testers seriously. We've read that book, Taking Testing Seriously? Oh, we haven't, okay. This is what, but the types of things that we're saying show that we're not taking testing seriously. It seems very off-putting to have people who just push back on things, who don't try to influence, who try to shut down and create silence. And it doesn't give confidence that people will actually engage. It's actually seen as like, these people won't engage with me, or engage with engineering. But we can fix this. That's why we're raising it. We're at a place where we need to fix it. And we can do that. Coaching, teaching, supporting people. Teams want to know the art of the possible. They want to know how to do things. They need coaches and teachers to understand what and how to test. What do we do as a community? We say, no, everyone can test, you need testing mindset. That's break things. Testers are the ones that can test. How are you coaching and teaching? You're showing us as an industry that doesn't want to outreach and train people. Then we have lots of commentary around test cases, test plans, test scripts, test cases. Manual testing is a thing, no it's not. Yes it is, no it's not. Arguments, arguments, arguments. So that engineers can't see what the art of the possible is. We have synonyms for everything. Think how many titles there are for testers. QAs, QEs, test analysts, quality analysts, SDATs, SDIDs. We can't standardize. Lots of engineers have standardized terminology. That's what they're looking for, clarity. We also see people really trying to push back, as I said earlier, on terms that would help people. People hate the term shift right, shift left. So it's just testing. It's all just testing. You shouldn't have to say what it is, it's just testing. We're trying to sell and help people, coach them, understanding all the different things there. If you say it's all just testing, I'm going to post for a photo. Thank you. That's the nose. Right. I've lost my credibility now. But if we're saying that we don't want to help people understand things, it's all just testing, how do they understand? I need a tester. I need a tester in my team. What does that mean? Accessibility? Does it mean business testing? Does it mean functional testing? Are you happy with manual testing? We need to be able to actually break things down and explain things. And engineers see that too. It shows inflexibility of gatekeeping. It shows that They wouldn't want to have colleagues who couldn't train and teach and help people. It sets us up as ivory tower thinkers rather than teachers and educators. That we're not influencing anyone, that we're not trying to teach anyone, we're just saying how things should be and pronouncing from on high. And that inflexibility flies in the odds of what people want. Pragmatism. Organisations need to be able to ship and deliver things. They want to do it at speed. Testing needs to enable that. They want people that can make things work and know what good enough looks like, not being gold-plated. But we say, well look, it's a noted industry leader again who says, you shouldn't be an optimist. Always be a pessimist, test everything. I wrote a post about testing in production. Because you have to, everybody tests in production, right? A 100-character long field has more permutations in it than there have been seconds in the universe. You cannot test everything, therefore you test it in production. The amount of people that came back to me and said, no, you can never test in production, I would never test in production. That's the worst thing ever. That's the pragmatism. I mean, shipping things, if you're trying to test more combinations of things than there have been seconds in the universe. And people say, we have to push to test everything. We're trying to gold plate. You can't go live, regardless of the deadline, unless we've tested and signed off everything. This is what people are saying online. And what engineers think. It's basically that we don't have confidence. We can't help people ship things. And also, they're showing that they wouldn't want to hire us because we can't align with their values and their goals. When I spoke to people, I said, engineering teams have moved and pushed a long way to get to deliver faster. Pipelines are there to deliver faster. AI is there to deliver faster. But we're trying to slow it down. We're not aligned. Where's our pragmatism? How do we help them navigate this? Another thing that engineering teams really want are people that can work in uncertainty. We are the experts in quality and testing. Everyone in this room, we're an expert in software and quality, more so than any of the engineers you work with, more so than any of the developers you work with. That means they need you to solve problems for them. That means they need you to help them out. But what do we say online? Ooh, I can't test things unless I have clear requirements. I need to be spoon-fed. Ooh. They find it difficult to understand what's needed, what's wanted, because they're not being spoon-fed and told things. We come to these conferences, and you come and you see people on the stage hoping that they're going to spoon-feed you a solution, or a playbook, or a runbook for something. But they need people, engineering teams, that can solve those problems in their context. And this is what we're seeing. We know that agile development, modern software development techniques, means that there has to be uncertainty. We're not defining everything up front because we're getting faster. Remember we said about getting faster? People say, hey look, if you need everything spelled out for you, maybe you'd be happier working in a bank. Banks do that. There's not lots of jobs in banking. We can't all go there. So we end up in a situation where engineers think, if you're not the expert, you can't tell us what to do. We need to be told what to do. That's the engagement. They need us to push for change. And that's what this thought leadership is all about, pushing for change. We're the experts. We should be there helping navigate things, making those changes, not being spoon-fed, setting our own scope. But again, lots of things online. Oh, testers never get a say in how engineering happens. But we should. We're good at that. What unit tests should we be writing? What shift left should we be doing? What shift right should we be doing? We also see people saying things like, manual testing just won't go away. You don't need anything else. Stagnation, not changing, not innovating. Testers need to be innovating. We need to be rising up to where our engineering teams are. And some people say it's not my place. I should just measure things. That rapid software testing clinic is all about just measuring things and presenting information. People need people that can build things, make changes, own quality, help support quality. That's what your role in the team is for. And that's what engineers think as well. They say, I can't stand coasters. If you're not going to push for change and you're just going to sit and wait to be told, what are you doing? How are you helping me? What's your place in this team? They want to work with people who are innovators and build things and drive things. They want help and support. We need to reach out and reach up and help elevate that. This has come up a lot. Teams want to go fast. We need ways of reducing risk whilst building suitable plans to test for faults, get feedback on features. This is why pragmatism is really important, because teams want to be able to go fast. They need solutions that allow them to deploy quickly, and it's only going to get more and more with AI. That's the whole point of AI, going faster, right? Anyone know where that's from? Which one? Marvellous, nerds, hello. But what do we say online? We paint ourselves in a position of speed versus quality. We say, nope, speed kills QA. You're testing. You can't have both. We should always push to test everything and be unpragmatic. That we shouldn't involve ourselves in the pipeline that allows you to go fast. We should put halts in, do manual testing. We say online, and this is prevalent stuff that's everywhere, from lots of thought leaders in lots of locations saying, testing slows you down. How are we going to get hired if we're seen as slowing people down? And that's what engineers are saying. They don't have confidence in their team, they don't have confidence in the testing the engineers are doing. It's a viewpoint that's alien to them, because the rest of engineering is optimizing for speed of delivery, throughput. We need to help them with understanding what stability means, not just try to stop them dead in things as well. That means putting guardrails around things. Another thing that teams want is systems thinking. To help with all this, to go faster. Because if they're going fast and looking in the small, if they're using AI to prompt in the small, that's where it's safe, it reduces your blast radius. They need to understand how everything is interconnected. Your branding, your marketing, your processes, your code up and down, your workflows, everything. So why do we keep talking about how it's all a bug hunt or functional testing? We have people saying that they don't understand what quality is or how they could make the product better. Some people say that we don't build quality. We don't make the product better. We don't help people in that space. Or they push back. They're not generalists and they say, ooh, performance testing isn't a quality attribute or a QA activity. It's something that DevOps would do. Just like be showing it off. We're not doing the systems thinking of where quality comes from. And that leads people to thinking that we're not leaders, we can't help them, we're not trusted advisors, we're just executors. And that execution, this is going to be a real hot take, are you ready? Execution has been automated for several many years, since about all the early thousands. Yeah. That's solved. Engineering teams are doing that in pipelines now. We need to be helping, leading and supporting, that's what they want. They think that all of this is just not, or it's not my job. It's not my job to help people understand things, or to think up and downstream, or to look for risks, or to look and understand quality and wide. And that leads them to sort of disengaging because they're not getting what they want out of things. They see us as an enablement function who helps understanding, helps training. And we should be looking at cause and effect to help people understand that. So that was the sad bit, where I basically gave you a state of play and said that everything's terrible. Sorry. But hope is at hand. We can distinguish ourselves as quality engineers in the space. By understanding the problem space, we can solve for it, right? Ooh, don't be too enthusiastic. Firstly, we need to know our audience. Our audience has changed. We need to stop navel-gazing, people. We need to stop making posts and writing posts just for testers. We need to be outreaching. We need to understand who it is who's going to be hiring us, CTOs, engineering managers, other engineers, and write content that shows how we can support them. We need to cover more areas of testing. That's what our audience wants. We need to use technical language that they would use in the right way. I'm not saying that unit testing is manual, that's insane. And we need to stop gatekeeping. If someone uses a term, fine, help explain it. Stop gatekeeping testing. Stop gatekeeping. Our audience is no longer testers. We don't need to pat ourselves on the back and say how clever we are. We need other people to say how clever we are. And a lot of this means losing the ego. I know for a lot of us in software testing, we've been battered, we've lost jobs, we want to protect ourselves and build a little castle around ourselves. And that drives ego forwards. But if we stop trying to win all the time, if we stop trying to have these aggressive conversations, we're like, actually, it's not manual testing, we're not testing manuals. Thank you. We can actually start to build more engagement with our audience. If something's not going the way you want, if people aren't talking about testing in the way that works for your context, you can just let it go. How many of you are thinking of that song now? Yeah, there you go. And we need to focus on value. But the value, remembering we're losing our ego, the value that our audience wants. What do our audience want? They want to deliver things, they want to deliver things at speed, but they want to preserve a level of stability. How can we help them with that? Predominantly, at the moment, this is AI. How do we, as a community, help build in practical AI guardrails? Because AI is going to be used, by the way, everyone, people want to go fast, it's a new technology, people like it. How do we help building pragmatic guardrails to support people in this space, practically, rather than just saying, AI's not going to come for testing jobs, only humans can do testing jobs. There needs to be that focus of talking about speed as well as quality. And not talking about old arguments, not entrenching ourselves in the drama. Drama feels great. Everyone likes drama. Your brain is wired for drama. But we don't need that now. We need outreach. We need to help people to understand value. And that's what a lot of these questions are. And by understanding what we talked about, what engineering teams want, we can understand the value that they want. You also need to all get used to creating things. Tools, techniques, processes, code, frameworks, all these things to support your team. You need to think about engineering. It's not just about, or not good enough, to think of being an armchair critic, sitting at the side, going, that's a risk, that will fail, told you so. It's not enough. You've got to get hands deep. You've got to build that understanding to be able to solve problems through building processes and that. That might mean using AI to do it. That might mean influencing people to help them build things. But we need to start building things, not just measuring. Teams don't want measures. They want help building quality. Sonic again. Get used to going fast. AI's not going anywhere. Things are going to get faster. Lots and lots faster. Probably more than any of us can cope with. So we need to start getting used to that. Build up your resilience. Build up your resilience and change your place. Start thinking about your pragmatism. While AI is in its infancy, whilst we haven't got to a point of speedy delivery, start thinking about how do I work with teams that want to go faster? How do I facilitate that? I have loads of conversations about that, about pragmatism, ruthless pragmatism, where I have to say things like, okay, maybe we can test this in production, or maybe we'll test, just this a bit later. It's not just about risk-based testing. It's about changing your mindset that allows you to just go faster. And also, we should all be communicating more wisely. The stuff that we put online is easy to find, especially with AI. ChatGPT basically will catalog all this stuff, and we're trained on this stuff, and drive it into an assumption of this is what testers think, this is what value testers do or do not bring. We need to put higher quality materials out there. We need to say the right thing. We need to be less theory driven and more use case driven, saying this is what worked in this context. We need to think about what battles that we want to have. not constantly saying, it's not called manual testing because you're not manuals. So say more stuff in your team, communicate wisely, don't be silent, but maybe you don't need to keep throwing out content and pink and blank infographics every 5 minutes to feed the algorithm. Maybe we need to be more tailored so that people can see, thank you, so that people can see what testing is really all about. You should all care about this. Things have changed. We're going to be more closely aligned to engineering than ever before. We're going to be asked to coach, we're going to be asked to train, we're going to be asked to build things. The days of working in a siloed test team is over. It is dead. The market's moving in that way. And if you don't move in that way, then you won't be ready for quality engineering. And people, I'm sure none of you say stupid things. You've come to a delicious conference. You're all amazing. But if other people are saying stupid things, knock that shit on the head. Don't engage. Don't build up the data that's going to train models and things. Don't like it, even if it's funny. Get engineers thinking that the ways that we talk about quality align and support them. Because other people saying stupid stuff impacts us all getting a job. If engineers think we're stupid, that we don't know anything about testing, that we don't know anything about building things, they ain't going to hire us. So this is super important. We need to know that people understand what they're buying when they say quality engineering, and that we don't poison the well. We get people thinking that quality engineering is just the same old manual testing over and over again, with the same old conversations and arguments that we've been having for 20 years. It needs to evolve. So today, I've spoken to you about working with engineering teams and seeing what is it that they want, so that we can actually start to think about how we talk about testing, what we do as a testing community, and how that influences how engineers see us. And I've also started to give some, not spoon-fed, but some ideas around how you can become seen as a testing pragmatist and generalist. Thank you so much, everyone.